this is not a drive 2 hours, do a trail ride, and then come home. This is, like we said before, and it's not to beat a dead horse or anything like that, but, we go to remote areas, we're older. Me and Greg are older. Wayne's a little bit younger. John's our age.
You're the oldest, right?
You got, no. You got to, you can plan for breakdowns on a machine. That's one thing, but what happens if there's a medical emergency? How do you handle that?
Idaho's
Perfect example, yeah. All right, so we took a slight time out there. Camera quit, so we're back. But I was discussing, when you go on these trips and you got to plan for a bunch of different stuff, and we were talking about the medical kit that we took. Like our first trip, each one of us had a medical kit that was about this big. And it could handle, a cut, or had some aspirin, or maybe a little tape, or, something you have around your house for.
Some Benadryl.
Yeah, you get a cut on your hand, you're all right. And, we get back from the trip and I'm thinking, what if, and again, this is part of the planning stage of it, what if this was to happen? We planned for like a flat tire, or we planned for like a breakdown. What are we going to do? We got that down. But we never really factored the medical part of it into things. So now I carry a medical kit that I can't remember the name of the company, but I put it in the description if I remember it. My Medic, I think, and it's got everything: life-saving measures, blood clotting stuff, airway stuff. I mean, everything you can think of, short of a AED.
What you think the thing to?
Tourniquets.
Yeah.
You put them around your neck, right?
Right.
So again, that went into the planning thing where you have to kind of think, number one, where are you going? What part of the country you're going, or what kind of trails you're going on? How long are you going to be gone? Climate you're going to be in. And you have to figure the what ifs of that in the planning. It's the planning part for just, we're going to go here, here, here. That's easy. That's not the hard part. Picking where you're going to drive to and all that stuff, that's the easy part. It's all those things that, gear, food, water, all the essentials you got to have.
Have to know how far you can go on a tank of gas, how much extra gas you have to carry.
Yeah, so, that's the hard part, because some of it's guesswork. You have to think of the worst case scenario, and then how are we going to solve that? And, it gets your mind wandering on what could happen. And, getting back to the medical part of it, we were in Idaho, and I told the guys well in advance, Idaho, I took 2 years to plan it. And we were actually going to go after a year, but we put it off and ended up going this fall. So 2 years of planning went into it. And I changed things over that course of time. But this gets me to the point of what we've added since the Idaho trip, at least what I've added, Greg too, but we were in areas where hundreds of miles were no cell phone service. And we all have radios on our machines. Radios work fine because we kept together. But if you got separated, even in mountains like that, those GMRS radios wouldn't be effective. So
yeah, they list 25, 30 miles or something, but you get in the mountains and you're.
So we had to plan for all that stuff, and and we're a tight knit group, so we knew watch the guy behind you. That guy watches the guy behind him, and the leader can be sure that the people behind him are going to make sure the last guy's accounted for, and then we do checkups on the radio, all those things. But we're in areas of Idaho where hundreds of miles. And I tell this story, and people don't believe it when I tell them, but it's the honest to God truth. We stopped on the side of a mountain, overlooking a big valley below us, and we all got out of our machines, shut them off. And the reason we stopped is Keith thought he got signal on his cell phone when he went by this area. So everybody stopped because we hadn't talked to anybody at home for several days. We all stopped, turned our machines off. We're standing along the trail, and you could literally hear a pin drop. That's how quiet it was. The wind wasn't blowing real hard until Kathy called Wayne. But so long story short, the medical part. We stopped in Warren, Idaho. Warren is they call it a town, but it was like 4 cabins and the bomb shelter, which was a bar or restaurant. And that's it. They had a bush landing strip. The cabins, they had little cabins. They were like little shacks, and they were for snowmobilers.
And they did have $10 a gallon gas.
Yeah, gravity fed $10 a gallon gas because they can't truck it in with a big truck. So we go in there and we, get something to eat and get gas. Everybody needed gas. And that was one of the stops we planned on making. And as we go out of the bomb shelter and go out to where the machines are, we're all sitting in the machines, get ready to leave. Some guy comes running out and says, "Hey, are you guys going up that way to the trail?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, we got a guy injured up there, and can you help him? We're trying to get a chopper in because he fell off a roof,
Yeah,
badly injured."
Think he broke his back. We need to get a backboard down there, just down the hill.
So Tom, who's a resident retired firefighter paramedic guy, he throws a backboard and a medical bag in his machine, and we split up the detail. We sent a couple guys. Tom was one of them. A couple guys out quick. A couple guys in the middle to look like off trails, or because the only description we had was just up the trail, look for somebody with a green lawn and construction on a house. That's all we were told.
Just up the trail was 14 miles.
Yeah. And then we had two guys in the back that were going so slow that in case they missed something in the front. And we were in radio contact the whole time. 14 miles later, Tom found the location.
Keith found the location and had to then we got Tom in the right place, got me there.
And then guys set up a landing zone and Tom was in contact. And the reason I'm telling this story is the reason these guys were able to get a hold of somebody, because there was no cell phone service where they were at. The reason they were able to get a hold of somebody is there's two guys doing work on this guy's house. And the guy said, "I think we should get a Starlink, one of those Starlink things, so we'd have service in these areas where we go to." And they were from Boise, and they knew the remote areas that they were working in. And the guy that ended up getting hurt, his wife was like, "Why are you spending money on a Starlink? What do you need internet for when you're going on a job?" Well, it paid off. The Starlink made them able to call for help, was able to let Tom talk to the only chopper pilot would take the flight because of weather coming in, the mountain weather. Everybody else turned it down, and this guy said he would take it, and we had to land I didn't do anything, but Tom coordinated everything, but got the chopper down, got this guy, and he's well today, recovered, all that, but he's lucky. Had he not had that Starlink, how long would it have been for him to get a hold of somebody that would have then been able to contact somebody in the outside world?
And it seems like every place we've gone, we've lost cell coverage.
Yep.
To piggyback on the medical stuff, we've had medical emergencies that resulted in trips to the emergency rooms.
He's speaking from experience.
Yeah, from experience. So one of the things that I have to do is I have a med bag, and everybody that travels with us knows where I keep the med bag, and inside that med bag are emergency contact numbers and medicines that I'm taking, so that if something happens, they can grab that bag and
we fight over who gets to sticking with the EpiPen first.
Yeah. We had to rock because there's paper.
So,
Figure it out.
and again, that's the planning part of it. That's all part of it. You have to, I guess the point is you have to think of the worst case scenario. How are we going to handle that? Who's got a skill set that can handle certain things? How can we get from point A to point B? Mechanical, medical, lost. What if the GPS quits? What if I'm big on paper maps. I always, electronics are great. And you get complacent. Everyone thinks, well, I'll just take I'll download a map on my iPad or my Samsung tablet and that'll make sure. What if that quits? What if it gets damaged? What if you lose it?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a key point, that you have to start from the Debbie Downer end of it. You have to say, worst case scenario, this happened. How do we backtrack out of it? Right.
And that's where it takes the whole village, a whole group of us to.
But one of those things that we also do is so that we don't have everybody in the group all carrying the same things. There's certain things that Rob brings. There's certain things that I bring. There's certain things that Greg brings, John, whoever else is going. That way we don't have to carry you know, if we have
For
10
the
people,
same thing,
right,
right.
10 people going, we don't have 10 jackeries, or, you know what I mean? We don't have 10 air compressors to pump up a tire. We only need 2,
Yeah.
right? One, you only really need 1, but you need 2 because,
in case one quits, yeah,
What just happened?
what just happened.
yeah.
I think it's a pretty good idea to have at least one member of your party that has emergency medical training. Because of our history, most of us have been trained in basic life-saving skills. I think that's a great idea for those of us that are getting out into those remote areas.
But on the flip side of that, for me, and this is just me personally speaking, the idea of all that we're talking about, the worst case scenario and all that stuff, that's what makes overlanding exciting to me. When you can set this thing down somewhere and not worry about it. You don't worry about work. You don't worry about your money problems or something going on at home. You're away from, and you're in a remote area where you're just out enjoying kind of what God created. And it's just to me, it's just the greatest feeling in the world.
So one of the things that that we've also been able to do is take our children with us. So I have a son he's now 17, but he went with us on a couple of our trips. It's probably the best time I've spent with that kid. It's just him and me in the machine, and you know, he couldn't use his cell phone because there was no service.
Yeah, he has to talk to his dad.
He had to talk to his dad and talk to the old man.
And he learns a skill set that he didn't have. Because most kids today, if you take them outside of cities, I mean, we live in a town, city, whatever. Walmart's right down the road, all those things. If you take them out into the woods, can they survive? And if you don't teach them those skills, then where are they going to learn it?
Well, and that's, again, so my son has led a pretty sheltered city life, and these guys I think will attest to the kid that went on that first trip with us is not the kid that goes with us anymore. Like he has matured a lot, he's evolved, he starts
It's a different type of maturity. Most kids are going to mature naturally. It's a maturity in that he grew up, became responsible around something that we just talked about, dangerous situations.
And you know, he doesn't just sit there and go, oh, Rob's having trouble putting up his tent, right? He gets his butt up and he goes over and he helps Rob put his tent up, right? And it's to the point now that a lot of times, I won't say every time because he is still a kid, a lot of times you don't even have to ask him anymore. Where when that first we went on, we're like, Lincoln, like, you got to help me put the tent up, man. It's raining.
So to kind of recap, we talked about what, we talked about why. And again, this is for everything every time we do videos. If anybody has questions, that we enjoy the comments. And, one of us here or John, we're always, when we first started, we never looked for comments because we didn't think we'd get, many subscribers. And now we're starting to get a few. But the goal of these videos for me is to let other people maybe think, hey, I can go do that. I think that's pretty cool. How did these guys get into it? How did they plan it? How do they, get involved in this? And what did they see? So just to recap what we've done, I would say we'll work from Newfoundland was the first one we planned, but the first place we went was New Hampshire, and then we went to Newfoundland, correct?
No.
Or Upper Peninsula.
Upper Peninsula.
Upper Peninsula, and then we went to Newfoundland, all because of COVID. So the Upper Peninsula trip was 10 days, I think. We basically went over the Mackinac Bridge, on Route 2 to Bewabik Campground, and we parked the machines and trucks, or parked the trucks and trailers, rode the machines across to the far west side of the Upper Peninsula along the Wisconsin border, all the way up to Copper Harbor, and then we made like a triangle coming back down, camping along the way. Most of that was campgrounds. We had one hotel stay, I think, right, on that whole thing.
Did we? Yeah, I think we had one hotel stay.
The rest of it was just campgrounds where they had a place where we could get a shower.
Did an Airbnb.
Oh, yeah,
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 yeah.
we did.
On to Noggin. So
Yeah, because I had to tow John to that Airbnb.
after the
Yes. We'll get that. We'll talk about that when we get to equipment, right?
after Upper Peninsula, we went to Newfoundland. After Newfoundland, we went to Canada,
Ontario.
and then this past fall we went to Idaho. I would say the two hardest trips to plan were Idaho and Newfoundland. Only because I'd been to the Upper Peninsula before, not on a side-by-side or anything like that, but I'd been there. New Hampshire wasn't truly where we had to rely on tenting everywhere we went. You know, we had lodging. But Newfoundland and Idaho were remote. Idaho was a little bit more, for me, planning, logistically speaking, was a little more difficult because of gas.
Hey, not done yet, adventurers. Wayne here. If you enjoy our content, please slap a little more on that subscribe button and help us out.